Sunday, 23rd of July 2023, and in this episode of This and That and What the Fuck Else, episode 168, I'll be talking about the Donbass, some gender stuff, some news from Germany, the EU, Russia and the US. I've got a great back page for the guys. It is Sunday, so it's fun day, and sorry girls, I've got nothing. And then, later today, I will release a thing about Germany that just made me smile. And there's an interesting poll running on the Briekmerke Skidmarks YouTube community page. You should go and participate. Let's get the votes in for a president. And I want to thank all those guys and girls that are supporting the channel, and for those that are all over my case about my language. Well, I haven't got much to say. If you want to have the smooth, polished versions of the lies, then you go to MSM, where they don't use the word fuck. And if you want the truth, this is where you will get it, with no icing. And I want to thank the people that are supporting the channel financially. It really helps a lot, and I appreciate that. And you've heard that knocking sound. I've had many inquiries about it. And that is unfortunately my telephone. Let me switch it off. It is my notifications on WhatsApp that knocks like that. And I'll try and remember to keep that off. But let's start with the news. Before we start with the news, let's take a look at some Russian bears from Kamchatka. It's actually magnificent animals, those. And we are in the Donbass. Russian Zaporizhzhia is harvesting its crops. Ukraine mobilizes all men for war with Russia, while the new Russian regions think about peace and work. Zaporizhzhia has started harvesting grain. The harvest promises to be good. Life goes on, and the regions where the Russians have taken over, life is coming back to normal for those people, except that they have to duck some missiles that is sent by the west into the cities. But it looks like the missile strikes into Donetsk has taken a dip. The Russians are driving the culprits further and further west. And then there's this really interesting remark by this guy. A resident of Ukraine recorded a very informative video for his fellow citizens. After all, some do not understand that while they are celebrating a mere mosquito bite, referring to that cursed bridge, Krim Bridge, the response is flying back in the form of large-scale strikes by drones and missiles. Russian strikes don't target civilians, but the unreliable Ukrainian air defense is a real danger to them. And I have spoken about it, and the MSM will never mention that, and they will come out with Russians sending missiles into parks and into residential buildings, and that's all they say. And then when the facts come out, it's clear that it's the Ukrainian air defense systems that is shooting their own citizens. A series of powerful explosions, cruise missiles hit Odessa, including the airfield used for drone attacks. The Skolny airfield was hit by Russian military as well as port infrastructure, Ukraine has admitted. Reports note that Odessa's air defense system largely failed, with some rockets apparently just dropping to the ground after launch. One of them hit a church and another a residential building. And this is the results. That's how that church has been shot by Ukraine themselves. Not the Russians, Ukraine. And here's another shot. This is how they shoot themselves. And then they try to blame it on MSM and the corrupt media from the West chimes in and sings merrily this song. And then we get this interesting information from the EU. The EU is not ready to give Russians assets to Ukraine, the Netherlands. The EU is not ready to transfer frozen Russian assets to Ukraine due to a legal issue and concerns from Germany, the Dutch government representative Van Leeuwen has said. The EU is not in principle against transferring the assets to Ukraine, but any such move must be legally watertight, he stated, adding that we're not ready yet to take those assets and give them to Ukraine. And you can read the rest if you want to. The fact of the matter is this is out and out theft. And they make a story how they've got a legal framework to follow. They're going to change that law to suit them. They're going to change the law to condone their piracy. They are fucking thieves. That is what they are. Stealing Russia's assets. That is what they are doing. And you can talk about it as you like and try to justify it as you like. Theft is theft. And what the West has done to the Russian assets is going to cost them a hell of a lot more than the assets that they stolen. And then this is not good news for the gender guys and the gender confused. Putin has issued an order for the Russian government to block websites that promote pedophilia, LGBTQ relationships and gender reassignments. Good for Putin. And then we get to this. And this is just a reflection of the arrogance of the Western citizens and their total disregard and disrespect for other countries' rules and cultures. Malaysia cancels a gig after a gay kiss. Malaysia's government halted a music festival in the capital Kuala Lumpur on Saturday, a day after the frontman of the British pop rock band, the 1975, kissed a male bandmate on stage and criticized the country's LGBTQ laws. Who the fuck does these artists think they are? To come to a country and then they think they have the right to criticize that country. And then we get to Germany. 16 million Germans living below poverty line as Foodbanks falter. A report by German broadcaster DW blames an influx of Ukrainian refugees, inflation and less goodwill from companies as compounding the crisis. The biggest food bank network, Tafel, serves over 2 million people and has had to turn away new applicants to provide for existing clients. There is now a call for Berlin to step in to help. But they're calling up Berlin for what? Berlin is dead set on fucking their own citizens. They first fucked their industry by sanctions against Russia on the gas, and their economy got deindustrialized as a result of their stupid actions towards Russia, and the Americans stole a lot of their industries. But the Germans, they just sit and watch quietly. And now poverty is entering. And now they want to blame it on the Ukrainians. Okay, fine, that may have played a role. The fact of the matter is, the German government has got billions to send to Ukraine, but nothing to support its own citizens. But that is Borrell's garden. And that is European democracy. Then we've got this from J.L. Kantan. 900 million Indians in rural area where workers earn less than $4 a day. Farmers are even worse off. India's growth will hit a ceiling without addressing this monumental issue. Here's the solution, and the only solution, in 3 parts. Urbanization, modernization of agriculture, manufacturing and construction jobs for 100 to 200 million people. It was done by Japan, South Korea and China. India must do it fast, or else the so-called demographic dividend will be lost forever. Learn, strategize and implement. And then there's a graph of how they are earning. Then we get to Medvedev. Dmitry Medvedev. The Ukrainian junta keeps saying that the conditions for negotiations is reaching some of their 1991 borders. These are the borders of the region of Russia, and once the provinces of Russian Empire, and not the mythical Ukraine. Ukraine is Sannikov land, founded by Lenin. It was not for long and disappeared from the map. There is no such land, no matter what they think in the West and in the occupied Russian city of Kiev. But nobody listens when he talks. He's a Russian. And then there's this interesting article just of the people, the volunteers helping the Russian military. However, it may sound the war has brought us together. Subjects of our documentary consider fighters in the Special Military Operations Zone to be their family. There are no strange soldiers for us, says Soslon from the North Ossetia region. He carries humanitarian aid and fresh pies to the front line to bring joy to the men. I knit, and with every stitch I say, please stay alive. This elderly woman from Siberia enchants things and puts candy in each sock for a soldier to sweeten their service. A volunteer with a call sign, Dad, traveled 400 kilometers to the Belgorod region to feed the fighters at the front line with a barbecue. Every day he and his team roast and distribute 200 kilograms of meat. Thousands of people have united behind the lines to feed, warm and support those at the front. Together we are strong, they say. Well, the West is going to learn a tough lesson here. You don't take on the Russian nation. Not a lot of weaklings and gender-confused fuckers running around there. They are people, real strong people. And then we've got this. It's time to move to Russia. Affordable medicine, free public education and low taxation are all reasons why many people from the West are moving to Russia. Russia is a strong supporter of traditional values. Globalist, neoliberal agendas will never be supported in Russia. For the past 20 years, Vista Immigration has been assisting foreign businesses and entrepreneurs to successfully start their business in Russia. And I've read a few articles. There's quite a lot of people moving to Russia. I'm waiting for that first real caravan of Europeans moving to Russia. And then we've got this from the Ukraine. What do you know? Gay Ukrainian soldiers believe war with Russia is changing attitudes at home. About 50,000 LGBT soldiers are fighting for Ukraine. Ukraine's first openly gay soldiers hope that Ukraine will be next and recognize the military contribution of its LGBT soldiers. There is no exact figure on how many LGBT soldiers serve in the Ukrainian armed forces, but LGBT military and Instagram account that post photos of gays and lesbians puts a figure at around 50,000. Now let me tell you this, if they are really 50,000, that is a fucking big percentage of the soldiers left in Ukraine. let's see where this goes. And then this sobering thing. Ukraine is empty. Many people are not coming back. It is a catastrophe. The Italian Corriere della Sera has published an article on the demographics devastation of Ukraine. According to the authors, the population has fallen to 28 to 31 million, which is still an optimistic estimate. There are no children, middle class, well-educated women have left, and above all, more than half of them will not return to Ukraine. The policy of European hospitality first seemed to us a miracle of generosity, but now it turns out to be a catastrophe. The newspaper quotes a Ukrainian demographer as saying, and here is a story of a 40-year-old Ukrainian officer now stationed near Bakhmut. My wife and 2 children, aged 5 and 7, went to Germany and in the first days of the war. Since then, we have communicated less and less, and now I see that she has already found a new partner there. This is really sad. Then we have this from the US. To foreign policy veteran, the real danger is at home. Richard N. Haas says, the most serious threat to global security is the United States. Our domestic political situation is not only one that others don't want to emulate, he said in an interview ahead of his last day at the Council on Foreign Relations on Friday. But I also think that it's introduced a degree of unpredictability and a lack of reliability that's really poisonous. For America's ability to function successfully in the world, I mean, it makes it very hard for our friends to depend on us. Some sobering information from that guy. But the American public are absolutely, totally ignorant of what the fuck is going on around them and in the world. Oops, what a sudden epiphany. Richard Haas, veteran American diplomat, president of the Council of Foreign Relations, former State Department official and White House advisor. The most serious threat to global security is the United States. Our domestic political situation is not only one that others want to emulate, but it's also think that it introduced a degree of unpredictability and a lack of reliability that's really poisonous. Well, take note of that one. And then more from the US. Biden preparing for a war with Russia, RFK Jr. By ordering the deployment of 3,000 more reservists to Europe, US President Joe Biden is preparing to fight Russian forces on the ground in Ukraine. Democratic presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has said. Biden has lost his way, Kennedy tweeted on Friday, arguing that the president should focus on America's domestic problems instead of trying to achieve global military dominance. I want people to understand that this troop mobilization is about preparing for a ground war with Russia. The idea of defeating Moscow on its conflict with Kiev is a futile geopolitical fantasy of the Biden administration, the Democratic presidential candidate added. I think for America, if a Democrat must win, this is the guy that should win. Otherwise, that country is fucked. And listen to this. This could actually be a what a fuck moment. Biden appoints female Navy chief. President Joe Biden has named the first ever female leader of the Navy by appointing Admiral Lisa Franchetti in a surprise move on Friday, overlooking the Navy's Pacific Chief Admiral Samuel Papara. Franchetti moves on from her role as Vice Chief of Navy Operations after boasting 38 years of naval experience, and also becomes the first woman to be named a member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. She isn't the first female head of a branch of the US military, after Biden picked Admiral Linda Fagan to lead the US Coast Guard. Well guys, you know me, I'm a chauvinist. Women is the nurturers, men is the warriors, and that's it. And now for the warriors, Here comes the back page. Enjoy. Some good eye candy there. Thank you for your support. Please give me a like and a subscribe and share the thing. Have a great day.